Alright guys, it's Stephen here on BlueMoonRisingTV. We're recording this at a godly hour of the morning, and that's why we all look absolutely knackered. Alex and Paul, how are you doing? You okay?
I like the way 20 to 10 is an ungodly hour of the morning. I'm sure a lot of people will be scowling at that right now.
Alex's mum's on the sky.
And you got cameos as well. Brilliant.
Yeah, this is staying in because it's absolute gold. It's basically, this should have been the third derby this season. Obviously, the one in pre-season never happened. We've obviously had the league victory already, and now we've got a League Cup game. Yeah, I didn't expect to have this many derbies. Alex put his mum, once again, get her on the Skype call. Anyway, she's probably doing a better job than Josie does at the moment. Anyway, but yeah, guys, Paul, how important a game is this at the moment? Because I think a lot of people probably aren't really up for the League Cup in general, and maybe it was one we wanted to see some of the kids use, but all of a sudden it's become a lot more important. Well, at least it has on paper.
Well, Mourinho's definitely going to want to win this, and United see this as perhaps a win that could get them back onto winning ways. And the same for us, you could say. But if one of the two teams was more desperate, and if you were to ask me which of the two teams is more likely to put out a full-strength side and gamble, you'd have to say United, even though they are missing some of their players as well, as we'll get on to. So they can't, in some ways. Probably their best player is going to be missing. But yeah, I think that Mourinho is going to do everything he can. I think he's flapping. I think he's desperate. I think he's got there's a lot of chatter in the United on Twitter and in the streets, even in the pubs, about whether Mourinho is the right man for United, and that talk is seriously surfacing because for whatever state you might think City are in, and it's actually a really good state, actually, that's a fact. But whatever state you think we're in, you can see the kind of football we're trying to play. It's something that we said about Pellegrini last season, that we never really seem to have an identity, and this season we definitely got one. United don't seem to know, do they play Pogba at 10? Do they play him holding? Who's their best striker? Should Rooney be starting? Who's on the wings? They just look like a team in a mess, and I think hopefully this is a ripe time for us to absolutely throw that mess in the garbage or something.
The Old Trafford garbage, the swamp maybe. I said, Alex, do you subscribe to this idea that maybe this isn't a game that either manager wants at the moment, because it's come at a pretty awkward time of the season, maybe both are in the best of form, and it probably is a pretty unwelcome distraction to have a derby this intensity so early on in the season again?
Yeah, I think it's almost like paradoxical in terms of both managers probably doing less games, but both need a massive 3 points or a massive victory. In that sense, there's no points in a cup game. I think as well, it could be a rallying cry, I think, for either manager. Whoever wins will get all of that kind of momentum together. We've just beaten United, we've just beaten City, whoever it is, and kind of use that momentum to go back into league form. I think both were up for it. I think it's hard to ignore a derby. I think if we'd come up against maybe Chelsea, Arsenal, Liverpool, I think maybe you would see us throw out a load of kids and it'd be kind of fixture. But when it comes up against United, you always get G'd up for it. I think we need something. I think Guardiola would love to answer his critics. And I don't think you'll see a full-strength side, but I think you'll see the side that play be a very strong one nonetheless.
Rossi, do you think it should be a full-strength side, though? That's a different question entirely, because you're not sure what you don't think you'll see, but do you think it should actually be a full-strength side, Alex?
I think we do need to rest players. I think something we suffered from the past. I think it's something that Pellegrini suffered from every season, was exhausting players. I think we've seen it with Aguero in the past. I think we've seen it with De Bruyne in the past. And to an extent, Silva in the earlier days, where they're just expected to perform 10 out of 10 every single week. And then suddenly by Christmas, they knacker themselves out and we lose them at the points of the season where it matters most. So maybe it is an opportunity for some of the young lads to step up. But I like the League Cup. I think it's a proper trophy, and I know that will give it stick. I think you get to see some really good young players that you don't get to see in competitive football, and I think you actually usually sort of pass the quarter-final stages. Of the 8 teams that get to the quarter-finals, like 6 of the 8 tend to be the form sides in the first half of the season. So I think you get to see it. It's an opportunity for someone. I like it. I think it's a trophy worth winning. I think any day out at Wembley is not to be sniffed at. And I'd like to see us take it seriously. I'd like to say, look, this is a trophy that we can win. This is something where we can start the momentum. It's all about breeding that mentality, picking up at least one trophy every season. So what I'd like to see is, I think that I've seen rumours that Kevin De Bruyne is going to be out injured. I think maybe it's a chance for Kelechi rather than Aguero. But you know what? Kelechi is still a top player, and I think he is good enough for regular first team football now. I don't think that's weakening the side as much people think. And maybe it's time to maybe say like John Stones can have a night off, but then you've got Otamendi coming in, so I think it'll be just a rotated side rather than anything.
Yeah, well, as you said, Kelechi, he's on banging form at the moment. 8 goals in his last 11 Premier League games. Officially, statistically, the most clinical striker in Europe. Not even top 5 leagues, just in Europe. That's the whole caveat they normally throw at it. Since August 2015. And maybe this could be a chance for him to really stake a claim as someone who could actually start alongside Aguero. He came on the weekend. He wasn't even replaced with Aguero. He was actually alongside him. And I thought he was impressive, to be honest. His actual natural role as well, when he was playing for Nigeria under 17s, was as a number 10, not necessarily number 9. And do you think maybe he could be the one to step into De Bruyne's shoes, Paul?
Oh, that's a big ask, isn't it?
For this game, at least.
But then again, but then again, stepping into Aguero's shoes is a big task, and he seems to have done it pretty well. So he's the kind of guy who's just got this. We always talk about it. He's got that swagger that you need at someone who's gonna maybe lead the line, or you need that around your team. You need a bit of attitude every now and again. Someone who's got self-belief, because they're the sort of players who, if things aren't going well, which you could say arguably they're not going perfectly at the minute, he's the kind of guy who won't let that rub off on his play. And he doesn't seem to either. At the weekend, he just casually, he ran into the box, he pointed to Sané exactly where he wanted it. Yeah. Sané obliged, and he banged it in the back of the net. And it was a great goal, and it was just shows how mature he is for his years, and how he's going to be at this club for so long, and he's going to be a genuine club legend. I really think he is. And the fact that he's probably the first one of this crop who will have come into the team, fought his way into the team, probably the hardest time ever, when we were still in that sort of building process, and he managed, and we were only buying really players at the peak of the game, and he's managed to get himself in almost, maybe not starting position, but certainly enough to, bag enough goals. So, could he play behind Aguero? I imagine he might. I imagine that he might play instead of Aguero, to be honest. I might be wrong, but I think in any case, I think it's his time. This game is his time to shine, and he's deserved a starring and starting role in this game. I mean, what else can he do? And I think, like Alex was saying, we've got to strike a balance, haven't we, between respecting the competition, whatever that sort of means,
respect,
and we know what you think about respect in football. # Too much respect. But we and so striking that balance, like, do you play a slightly weakened team, but because of all the games that we've got to play, but then again, we also really want to win it, and we want to beat United, and it will, you don't want to really be playing United at this point in the season, do we? This League Cup this season has not been kind to us. We've had Swansea away, which is horrible, and now United away as well. So if we're going to win it, we're probably going to have to play a lot of probably Premier League teams until the very end. But I think Guardiola's going to respect the competition, but play some youth team players, because that's part of who he is, and there's no disrespect in doing that.
Yeah, great. Just before we go on to pick the team, Alex, United obviously they're not in great form, and is this, in your opinion, a temporary thing? Zlatan's out of form at the moment. He's not scored for a while. Now they've put him a couple of injuries. Bailey's injured. He's been pretty decent since he signed. So he's going to see. The injury's starting to build up already. Mkhitaryan hasn't really got into the team yet at all. Rooney's obviously.
That's mad. What is going on? Sorry, but what they sign, arguably the best player in the Bundesliga, and he's rotting away on their bench. What is going through Jose's mind, and what's going through his mind as well? He must be regretting this so much already, because you're seeing Gundogan, who's come in, his teammate, and he's come off a lengthy, massive injury, and he's still in Guardiola's first team plans, and he can't get into a shit Manchester United team. I mean, he must be thinking, what the fuck's going on?
Yes, Alex, what is your take on United's slump at the moment in form?
I think is it temporary? I think was the original question. I think that's a really interesting one. That could be a whole video in itself. Don't mistake this for sympathy. Don't mistake this for sympathy. But I think Mourinho is experiencing the same things that Guardiola, in terms of he wants to implement his own style and his own methods. Yeah. I think he's got it a little bit harder, because whilst Guardiola has inherited a side of players that have been built around a similar mentality.
Yeah.
Mourinho has got a team of players from the Ferguson era, from the Moyes era, from the Van Gaal era, and getting them all to play his way. I think it's fair to say, and I don't think United fans will fight me for this, I don't think it's quite clicking at United yet. And I think once it does, second half of the season, and Mourinho gets another transfer window to bring in another one or two of players that take his fancy and move a couple on, I think we'll start seeing United be more of a threat. I don't think they're title rivals for this year. I don't think they're as far as long as they would have hoped. And I think that it's very funny that they point the finger at Guardiola when we're top of the league and second in the Champions League group, and they're playing Zoya Luhansk.
Never heard of them.
Who I didn't even know were a football team. I thought it was
made up.
Someone dropped Scrabble letters on the floor.
High point scoring that though, isn't he?
Yes.
Yeah, so I think, it's the same thing. If we're in, I was on a Key 103 last night, and they asked me.
All right, name drop.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, big time, man. Regional radio. When the first thing they asked was, "Are Manchester City in crisis?" And it's like, well, if we're in crisis, United are in disaster.
What is every other team in the league then? If we're in crisis.
Exactly. So I think I think we're in a similar boat to United. I think Guardiola's had a little bit of an easier team to step into than Mourinho, and I think that we'll probably see the results a little bit sooner. I think is it temporary was the question. I think there's a few players that they need to move on. I think they've got a lot more deadwood in their team as well. That I think isn't temporary. I think you're starting to see players in that squad that will always be playing mid-table football from this point forward. And there's a couple of young lads, the Lingard, Rashford, so on, that I think will only get better and could become serious players.
The counterbalance to that is these players are all looking a lot worse than they were last season. And he's saying that he's using players like Moyes' players. Well, Moyes was using Moyes' players, and he got to the same position in this point in the season as Mourinho did.
Yeah,
without Bailey, who's apparently the best
sticking
defender.
the knife here. It's great.
And I agree that they'll have to get better because they can't get much worse. So that's the only way that they can go. But I don't subscribe to the idea that we should be sympathetic because he's playing his game, which is defend the life and strangle the life out of the game as he's always done with the players that he's bought, with Pogba's etc. And it's his tactics which are not working with the players that he's bought. So Van Gaal played, a not dissimilar style of football necessarily. And, well, I guess, maybe not exactly. But still, I don't think... they've got to get better, and they will get better, I'm sure of it. But at the minute, it's all down to Jose.
Yeah, it's a weird one. The Mkhitaryan thing is strange. It's just strange. He did it. He's had a reputation in general of signing players and just not using them. He did it with De Bruyne as well a long time ago. He does sometimes. It must be some kind of ego thing. There must be something there more to it because you don't sign a player that good on the surface and just never ever use him. It doesn't make any sense. So it could even be some weird kind of approach to say, well, I've got one player, but I need more. So I'm not. It could be some weird mind game thing going on there. Who knows? But anyway, guys, let's go on to the actual pick the team. This is the bit that's going to be really difficult. Very difficult, in fact, not solving Jose's problems. For this one, what formation are we going to line up? We need to make a relative agreement for that. Is it going to be back to the 4-3-3 kind of thing, 4-1-4-1, whatever it's going to be, or 3 at the back still?
Should we go with the same sort of setup that played against United and beat them last time, or do you think that we'll carry on with the sort of setup that we've had so far?
I think the United setup last time might not be a bad shout. That would involve a couple of the kids at fullback. What do you reckon, Alex?
I think it's unpredictable. I think what we will do and what I'd like to see us do, I'd like to see us play our traditional 4-2-3-1 and get a result out the way with Pep Guardiola. I wouldn't be surprised if we land up in the... I wouldn't be surprised if we land up in a 2-7-1 formation with Guardiola.
Let's go for that.
But I would like to see 4-2-3-1.
In net, we're going to see Willie, aren't we? By the looks of things.
He
played the Swansea game, didn't he? He played the first leg.
Yeah.
So you've got to assume that Pep's the sort of guy who will, for this cup, play certain types of players. Yeah. I think that's going to run through. So Willie in that, I reckon.
Willie's going to be a goal. Right back, if you're going to play 4 at the back, it has to be Maffeo, purely and simply because there's no one else there. Maffeo, I watched I watched the under-23s play against Southampton. He wasn't in the squad. Neither was Angelino Adebayo. They've been in and around the squad recently to get some fitness. So is Alex Garcia. None of them were involved, which says to me that they're probably at least in consideration for this game, which is something to consider. Consideration to consider. But yeah, Maffeo surely at right back. In defence, I think you probably agree that Otamendi's going to come back in. Now, for me, the question here is, do we start Vincent Kompany? Because he could do another game potentially. Thoughts, guys?
I think he'll get 60 minutes, 70 minutes again.
So Otamendi and Kompany.
Yeah, I think so. If Alex is happy with that.
No, I think definitely. I think I'd like to see Vinny start. I think getting as much game time as possible, and I think we need leaders and characters in games like this to get us the right result. He loves a derby. Big header at the back post. First goal scorer.
Yeah. That'll do. Left back. I would like to see Angelino give him a chance. I'm not sure he will. I think he might play Clichy in the derby.
As well,
I think Clichy's kind of due a game. Any disagreements there?
No, I think Clichy will be knocking on the door asking for a game. I think he didn't play on the weekend. He played 20 minutes or so, I think, against Barcelona at right back. So I think he'll be grateful to play 90 minutes at left back. Go Clichy in for me.
Yeah, then this is where it gets interesting because I think we'll see a player or two rested. We already know De Bruyne is not going to be there. Alex Garcia was excellent against Swansea. He was excellent, and I think in general Pep is a fan of him. It's just games have been coming thick and fast. He's been using his first team players. I do think he'll be rewarded for a man of the match display against Swansea with a starting lineup place. I think it's quite a bold call, but I think Maffeo will be the ones that get the shot here, that get the chance in terms of the youth. Alex, any disagreements?
Yeah, I think Garcia was sublime against Swansea first time out. I think he was man of the match, if I remember rightly. He deserved it. He was superb that night.
Scored as well, and
actually, it looks a little bit like Kelechi Iheanacho in the sense that the occasion doesn't bother him. He didn't seem phased. It was a big first team opportunity. Just got stuck in, got on with it, and delivered a really strong performance. In the way that we do see young players sometimes stutter and flounder, Garcia looked like he'd been playing at that. I say at that level, League Cup level against Swansea on a Wednesday night, but he'd been playing full professional football for 15 years. You never known it was his derby, and I think Alex Garcia has earned his place and earned an opportunity, at least from the bench. But I would like to see him start.
Yeah, I think I will as well. I think I'm going to put him in there because I just think he deserves it, to be honest. And I think Pep's quite a loyal man, I reckon. And I think if he thinks someone deserves a chance, he will, in general, give them that chance. The question then is the people ahead of him. Now, this is just my opinion. I've got a sneaking feeling that Gundogan might not make the starting lineup. I think he might get a rest there, but that's just my personal opinion. And I think it would be Fernandinho and Silva. But Paul, what do you reckon? What do you think?
I would imagine that Gundogan might get the nod over Fernandinho personally.
Okay.
Just because I think Gundogan, he had a great debut against United. Was it? I can't remember.
Mönchengladbach was his debut.
Mönchengladbach, you're right. He had a great debut, but he seems to have tailed off a little bit, and he's got the quality. I wouldn't be surprised to see Gundogan and Alex Garcia in a midfield too, but because I think that then maybe there's a bit of experience there and a bit of youth, but or maybe Gundogan ahead of him. But I think Gundogan needs a bit more game time, but without getting exhausted. He's finding that balance. So I wouldn't. I don't know what Alex thinks.
I think he's spot on there with Gundogan. I think he had a superb debut. I thought he came in very, very early and looked like he'd hit the ground running, which was remarkable given the injury he come back from. That said, I'm looking at his performance on the weekend against Southampton, and I hate to criticise players and I hate to point the finger and call people out, but it was the first time that I looked at him and thought, oh man, he had a poor game. There were a lot of misplaced passes. He didn't offer too much creatively, and I thought actually maybe there were players on the bench that could have offered a little bit more, and that's fine. One game in 10 or however many appearances he's made, I think you're allowed one that you're a little bit off the pace. But I think he needs to, just get that little bit more form, that little bit of a kick on. And I think maybe Fernandinho, who has been, I think, our most important player in that pivot role, I think is the pin that holds the whole team together. And I think he is a proper unsung hero this season more than ever, holding the team together. I think we'll probably be very grateful for a rest. I think there's also a chance of Fernando, who hasn't played and started a game in a little while. But then you're looking at Fernando and Garcia.
Angelino was wasn't he, last time?
Yeah, but I think if you're looking at Fernando and Garcia, if they come up against, say, a Pogba and Fellaini that are in form and up for it,
Yeah, but
I
chances of
think
that.
they might lose that battle. But so I'll say Gundogan and Garcia, but I think you will see Fernando at some point
Do you know
throughout the
what?
game.
I
Anyway.
think you're right about Fernando. I've got a feeling you might be right because I think you might be. I think you might be right. I think you might be Gundogan, Fernando, and Garcia. Yeah, I just got a feeling that'll probably be something to do because I think he will make changes.
Yeah, Fernando's got to play at some point, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
That means no Silva.
He's not a most popular player, but a bit of him. If he finds a bit of form, that would be great to see as well. Because Fernando coming on, protecting a lead later on in the season, you want to be able to. You want to have a player like that, an enforcer who break legs. And when better do you want a guy who's going to break legs than at a derby?
You say unfortunately. I think that's a little bit disrespectful to Fernando. I think he's a quality player. I think he knows exactly what he can and can't do. I think Fernando is similar to a Fabian Delph in the sense that he knows exactly what he's capable of. You never see him firing shots off from 30 yards out or trying to beat someone that he
more
can't.
Fernando shots, I say.
I think he's someone, like you say, you can come on and keep it steady and keep it ticking over. I think, is he the sort of player that will lead the line next to a Garcia that might need a little bit of guidance? I don't think so. But I think he's someone we should be looking at and making the most out of. And I think he is someone who can pass and move, in a Guardiola system.
You've just put an idea in my head. He said Fernando lead the line. Now that's something I can subscribe to. Get Fernando up front as a number 9. That'll do. Imagine,
Company up front.
The new Chris Sutton or something. I don't know. Some big tall striker. So then up front, I probably will think it'd be Kelechi instead of Aguero. I think you. Does anyone else disagree there or?
I'm happy to go Kelechi.
I think he will. I just think he'll play.
And then, right now, to me, 60 minutes of Kelechi, then Aguero coming on for the last 30, or vice versa, doesn't really bother me either way. Even if it was against, Barcelona, I think they're both really, really capable and they can both do a job.
Nolito was excellent against United in the derby. He was fantastic, obviously in the derby. It's United. He was excellent that day. But is there maybe an argument for someone like Angelino on the left side of midfield? A bit of energy there if you wanted to use youngster. Or who do you choose? Is Navas going to get a game? Because he got a run out the other day. And then you've got Sane as well. David Silva maybe could even play out wide.
I think I don't stop banging the Nolito drum.
No,
I think he's arguably, when he's played, been our best player. I just think he's one of those guys who just keeps things moving, provides some proper energy. I think, Sterling has been fantastic out on the wing.
Yeah.
But if you're asking me who's more likely to provide a real clinical goal threat and who's going to get that killer assist or fire a shot off, I'm looking at Nolito probably more than Sterling. Sterling's worked really, really hard as well, so it's not a Sterling versus Nolito thing right now.
Sterling has to be on the right.
I think I would love to see Nolito start every game. I think we're a better team with him in it. Will he play him? Well, he didn't play the last game starting, so I reckon he probably will. And I really want to see him in there because I think he'll terrorise what is a horrendous back four at the minute for United.
Is it Navas time, Alex? Oh, go
on. I think maybe Navas on the right. I can see Nolito getting involved, though. I think I'd like to see Nolito. I think I can see him scoring a Craig Bellamy type goal. Remember that one in the derby? I think it was a 4-3.
He's got a Bellamy quality about him, hasn't he?
I think I think I remember having a chat with the guy who sits next to me. My dad, actually. I remember saying, that we need some hard men in the team. We need someone with a bit of angst because at the back we've got that.
Is that why you nutted someone then? Yeah.
We've got players like Otamendi, but actually I think with someone like Nolito going forward, we've got someone at the top end of the pitch. He maybe gives it a little bit back and pushes his arm out, and I think actually someone who can bully his way past, especially in this day and age where fullbacks are getting smaller and they're getting a little bit softer. I think Nolito is not a throwback, but he's someone who maybe just has got that little
he's like a technical Dickov, isn't he?
But yeah.
Sorry? Technical Dickov. That's what he reminds me of. He works.
That's my sorted Twitter.
Just wait. Please do that. At Technical Dickov.
For one, if we win, I'm changing for 24 hours to Technical Dickov. Right,
guys. Right, that's the kind of team. It's going to be Navas on the right. I've decided now because I think it might be. Predictions, Alex. Your score prediction for this game?
6-1.
Oh, nice, Paul.
Oh, nice. 3-0.
Mine is going to be a nice safe 2-1 once again. Guys, anyway, Blues, get in the comments. Get at in Technical Dickov in advance for this wonderful change. What tune the team's going to be. It is amazing. That's my favourite thing of the day already. I don't really care if we lose now. We've got Technical Dickov. But get in the comments. Let us know who you want to see start. Should the kids get a go? Are we going to beat United? Again, is it going to be 2 out of 2 for Guardiola? Drop a like on the video, subscribe, and we will see you for the watch along as well. See you later, guys.